Well, happy Friday, everybody. Um, it has been a busy week, and we are back here again after taking a little break last week with another episode of Terra Firma Live. I'm really excited to catch up with all of you and, of course, with our awesome teammates here. So before we jump in, how y'all doing? How's the week going? Claire, how you been?
I've been good. Really enjoying the fall weather now that it's back. I know we had a weekend of like 80 degrees, and so I'm back in my turtlenecks where I belong. So very much enjoying it.
Love it, love it. I'm a big turtleneck fan. It's time for me to break mine out. Although body composition has shifted slightly from last fall when I bought those turtlenecks to this fall. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Kevin, how you doing?
Very similar. Also enjoying the fall weather. Had first fall bonfire earlier this week, and we're looking forward to more.
Now, did you have the bonfire in the like 80-degree heat earlier this
No,
week?
no, 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 no. It was timed. It was that next day. As soon as the cold snap started, that's when it was. So it was a nice brisk 30 something.
Okay, okay. Whit, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I am preparing for this weekend because it is my aunt's birthday, and as you guys know, she's like the matriarch of the family, and so we couldn't let the weekend go by without celebrating her in some kind of way. So we're gonna go to brunch and get together afterwards and just have good conversation and everything like that, and shower her with love and a couple of gifts too. I think I know what I want to get her, but I might need to think a bit more on it. But yeah, that's what's going on this weekend.
I love that. I love the celebration and the love and the connection. Um, I think that's great. I wish her a happy birthday. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. I know I have an event I have to go to on Sunday. Tomorrow I'm thinking, oh, I know, we've got soccer and gymnastics, so we've got
Mm.
to we've got to divide and conquer. I think I'm choosing gymnastics tomorrow.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to gymnastics practice. I'm
I love
gonna
it.
work on my tumbling, which would be a sight. There won't be any cameras allowed if I practice my tumbling. Um, so, what are we talking about today? Today, we are talking about what it takes to sustain change. In the newsletter that we put out this week, that Kevin so wonderfully wrote and edited, we talked about really the journey of innovation and change and sustaining change, especially in places. Because as you all know, when we talk about Terraform, we talk about these stories from our customers, it's really helping all of you understand what the journey of learning and connecting and building better products and services and experiences and organizations and communities, what all that's really about. And so we love to get into these customer stories and really, as you would say, Kevin, delve deep into them. And in this case, we are looking at a Mid-Atlantic state travel tourism agency, tourism organization that has embarked on a long-term journey to both transform the travel experience, especially for excluded and underrepresented travelers, but also to really lead with innovation to figure out what's the future, what's next, and in doing so, be transformative, provide meaningful improvements for people, residents and travelers alike, and also compete more effectively in the future by kind of racing to what's next. So we're going to talk about that in a lot of ways. As usual, we don't divulge or disclose the name of the customers that we're talking about because we really want to keep you focused on the learning more than who was that or what do they do. And so that's our custom here on Terraform Alive, and we keeping it that way today as well. So before we get into that story, I'd love to start us off with just a little quick discussion for the group. Can you think of a time, maybe a trip, where you felt so at peace, so welcome, so safe, and you just felt like you belonged there? You don't have to get into the whole story because we ain't got time for all that. But just the highlight, maybe where were you, when was this, and just one reason why you felt that way. Um, Whitney, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. All right, when I think of a trip that gave me, all of the feels, it makes me think of probably my first trip to Miami. You guys know Miami has a special place in my heart. But my first trip, it was when I was in college. It was towards the end of the year, and a group of friends, we went to Fort Lauderdale, spent the week in Fort Lauderdale, but allocated a couple of those days towards Miami. And Miami is is a multicultural city, and so being there, just being able to see all the different cultures come together, it really had me at ease. Had me at ease, but also too like excited to learn more about the other cultures that were there, and have these new experiences with people that look like me, but also people that didn't. But it was just that first trip. It really made an impression on me, and I ultimately ended up deciding to go to school in Miami because of that trip. So I was a resident there too. So it's funny how a trip can turn into to residency if you like it enough.
Interesting. I could go, we could spend time talking about Miami and how and why Whitney claims Miami over certain other places, but we're not going to do that today. Kevin, what's a place like that for you?
For me, it's Brooklyn, New York. I remember going there for the first time to live there for a summer for an internship. And I didn't grow up in a big city. I grew up in uh, a very small but industrial kind of space. So just kind of, all of the noise, but none of the like exciting, interesting like community connection. So it was really eye-opening. Like, oh my gosh, bodegas are awesome. I can walk everywhere and there's great public transportation. Like all of those things really, plus like the blend of so many cultures and experiences and diasporas, I found it to be just so affirming, like, oh my gosh, like there's communities that are vibrant and interesting and diverse. And that was, I felt welcomed and at peace there.
It's cool. Claire, what about you?
Oh gosh. The one that keeps coming to mind, I had gone this past summer down to Virginia Beach, which I go usually once a year anyway. But when I was going, it was like a last minute. We had to find a hotel. It was a whole thing, and I just found this one that had availability. And for some people, probably not what they would call like their best hotel where they would actually want to stay. But I mean, the people were just awesome. They were so kind, they were so helpful, and as soon as I got there, I just felt like I was at a place that I belonged, that I was safe at, and they really made the difference, because I know it wasn't some of the other people who I was with their first choice, but I really, really enjoyed the stay, and really the staff was just amazing. So.
For me, it was first time a few years ago. We visited Cape Charles in Virginia, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I get sometimes very apprehensive or nervous traveling to new places, but in this case, it was magical. I mean, I think partly I really really enjoy being in a place where you can really relax, not have to worry or be stressed about anything. I think that's true for a lot of travelers. I also know that's true in particular, or maybe at heightened levels for travelers who look like me. And so I always worry about like, what is it going to be like when we get there, and who do I have to like navigate either with or around to have a good experience? And it was none of that. It was just amazing and relaxing. And it was one of the first times I took a deep, deep inhale in a long time. And we went back there last year and it felt the same. Like I want to keep going back to that place for the rest of my life because it is very magical and restorative for us in a lot of ways. And I see a lot of themes between what you all just said about the places you love and what you took from them, whether it was cultures mixing and blending, or feeling safe, or feeling like you belonged, or just seeing things and being exposed to new things, and the curiosity being brought to life. Kevin, when you brought up the bodegas in Brooklyn, that's two times in 2 days bodegas have come up, because Whitney and I were talking about that yesterday, about framing dollars and putting them on bodega walls. So there you have it. That might be our word for the week. But this is very similar to one of the things that was happening with this customer that we were talking about. We started working with them back in, I think, 2019 on the research and storytelling space, although they had been working to address some of the rather significant issues that Black travelers had been facing in their state for years, and they had been working on those issues for some time. And so they came to us kind of initially wanting to understand how to message some things that they were getting ready to roll out from a Black travel visitation experience standpoint. And when we conducted these Seek sessions using the Seek app platform and technology, we learned so much more. We dove deep into, I think if I remember correctly, our prompt was, tell us about one of your more memorable travel experiences in this state. And that doesn't mean it has to be good. It could be good, it could be bad, or it could be both. A lot of what we often see is both emotions, a lot of joy and sadness, aspiration and feeling like I need to be somewhat cautious. There's so many things that, coexist in, I think, everybody's experiences, especially in travel. And so what they learned in these, we conducted, I think, over a period of time, 3 rounds, 6 sessions with both in-state and out-of-state travelers. And what we learned was what they needed to experience to feel that deeper sense of belonging when they were in the state. And there were some key drivers of their experiences that were really highlighting not just that they wanted to feel welcome, but what welcome looked like for them, or what safety felt like for them, or the cues that they would sort of tune into, or how to feel connected to the community and to even multiple cultures. They brought that very thing up that you all spoke to, that not just seeing one's own culture in a place, but also seeing multiple cultures in a place tells me this place is capable of embracing my culture and identity. So the presence of multiple cultures, some people think, oh, people only want to go places where it's just like them. And don't get me wrong, there's times you want to be around your own culture to just celebrate it, to feel immersed in it. And there are also times you want to experience the same things that other people experience, and you're looking for cues to know that you are welcome there. And the presence of multiple cultures is one of those things that was really fascinating to us when we heard, the placement of signage on roads, and the placement of signage and who's welcoming whom, and how are they talking to you when you come in. All these little things that seem so basic and obvious were the things that made or broke the experience, particularly for these Black travelers. And so that was fascinating. And what I think that was more fascinating was what they did with this. And this gets to that point of what Kevin was talking about in the newsletter, like, what's the long-term commitment? How do you really sustain transformation? And they did several things that I found really, really impressive. The first thing they did after we kind of presented the findings to the core team, they were like, this is great. We'd like you to present to the rest of the team. And we're thinking maybe, a few other folks. They meant the whole organization. They wanted the whole organization to hear the voice of the Black traveler and what they were telling us in their stories and what we were learning from their stories. Then they said, that's great. Now, can you spend a little bit more time with the communications team and with the creative team and really help them understand, like, how to apply these findings? Like, what should they say differently? What should they do differently? And this was coming to us from a place of, it was not performative at all. It was not, hey, what's the post we should make to address this issue? It was, how do we build capability from wherever we are to the next level, to really a significant level, so that our team understands these experiences better and knows how to meet people based on that understanding. And we thought that was great. Then they said, awesome, can you take the agency through this training? And if I'm not mistaken, Whitney put together a whole messaging training toolkit coming out of those findings to say, here's how you think about even visual communication. Here's what it means to hero people from underrepresented or excluded backgrounds, not just the percentage of them in the frame, What are they doing in the frame? Are they in a subservient position? Are they in a position of equality, or even a position of sort of obvious authority or leadership? All the different things you could do to subtly and not so subtly shift the message. And again, we thought that was great. And they were like, awesome. Now we want you to help us engage the trade, the industry. And so they asked us to train top destinations, historical sites, attractions around the state. Then they said, let's roll this out to all the partners statewide. So we're doing webinars. And I say all that because this is what it looks like from where we sit, at least, to have a sustained, intentional, long-term approach to this type of change. Well, big changes don't happen overnight. So I don't know why we keep trying to get hit it out of the park all at once and think we're done. Like, it's a sustained effort. And that's what I loved about what this client did in particular. And if that weren't enough, if they didn't do all that work within the industry, they then came and said, all right, do you think we're ready to take the next step? And we said, not for nothing, y'all been ready. Like, y'all have done the work. You all have really put your money where your mouth is in terms of the effort, the commitment, the leadership. So they turned to our partner agency at JMI and led by Whitney, and turned those findings into an award-winning campaign for Black travelers. And so, again, to us, this is huge because it shows what can happen when you make a commitment to long-term change to improve people's experiences in ways that are sustainable, innovative, and also profitable, which is what they achieved. And they still aren't done. This is one of a number of organizations that also chose to partner with this collaboration that Share More Stories is involved in with JMI, with Ezra Calvert Consulting, and with the Culturist Group. And they partnered on the Future of Travel study. So, I say all this to say that not every organization maybe has the resources or is at the starting point where they could do all of that, but every organization can start. Every organization can start somewhere and make a long-term commitment and match the investment level to the resources they have and say, look, this is about progress. This is about sustained progress. This is about a goal to transform the landscape. We've also done work with them in the Asian American travel experience space. And so they really do have, even beyond and broader than the Black travel experience, I sense a commitment to really understanding what the future of travel is, which is multicultural and intersectional, and it's based on values and needs and understanding how people's expectations are evolving in real time. So, the invisible shout out to this trailblazing organization. They have our deepest admiration and respect because of what they're doing. And they're not alone. There are other organizations out there doing that kind of amazing work. And so I'll pivot for a moment back to you, Whitney. You've been involved with our work with this organization as long as I have, and wearing your other hats, you've been involved in this space for probably most of your career in so many capacities. What stands out to you as a marketer, as a researcher, as a Black woman, as a traveler? What stands out to you about their journey and their commitment and the outcomes that they've achieved?
Well, I mean, I'll, first, just like echo what you said about the fact that this organization, this destination, they were focused on the internal change in addition to that external change. So think about avoid per se like false advertising, right? Like, we don't want to communicate, to Black travelers that the experience is one way, and then when they get here, it's something that's not lining up and matching. And so, so the fact that this organization really focused first and foremost on like, how can we create create a Black travel experience that is going to be one that encourages travelers to come to this destination, that, word of mouth would carry and say that this is one of the top locations that you can go and spend a week at. I thought that was just fantastic. And working with, when we moved into the campaign development space with this particular organization, one thing that I thought, was really great that we could accomplish, we did accomplish with the campaign, was understanding that people want to have a deeper connection to a destination and a deeper connection to its people. And so when we were thinking about the Black traveler experience, we really wanted to make sure that we had that we were working with different culture creators that were in this space and at that destination that could really illuminate what that local experience was like for Black travelers. And so, you know, when we did that work together, I was just really proud of the fact that we could really highlight that local experience because, you know, I know in my travel, when I'm going to different you know, parts of the world, different national cities too, that's something that I'm looking for too. I'm looking for local culture. I'm looking for Black culture. I go to a destination, and so it's like how hard if it's too difficult to find, then that is communicating something to me. It shouldn't be hard to find. And I think through this campaign, we were able to really just highlight, put on a platform, elevate what the Black culture experience is for Black travelers, and we were really able to accomplish a lot of great things with the work.
That's awesome. Thanks for that perspective, Whitney. Claire, I'm curious, you know, I mentioned how in many respects our work has gone from, you know, looking at specific destinations and organizations to something broader with the future of travel, which you've been really deeply involved in, and we're now gearing up for the second phase of the study. I'm curious, when you think back to some of the conversations you had with travelers or some of the feedback you get, what kind of stands out to you from that point of view, hearing what travelers were literally telling us, not just about their travel experiences, but about the process?
Mhm. Yeah, like you said, I was in the unique position being able to hear directly from participants and their stories. Some of the stories we received, they were just deep, they were emotional. And then once they were submitted, I had participants reaching back out to us to express how important it was for them to be listened to have a space to share their story, their experience, and just share their lives with us. And I think it really hit home for them that there are people out there who care about their story, because some of them even said that they were in a space they thought nobody cared, but that it was nice to be a part of a project that showed them differently. And it was just really cool to hear all of that feedback, and I'm really excited to see where we take it with phase 2.
That's awesome. I thought that was also pretty interesting because, um, you know, we've done these projects now for a long time, and we've rolled out the CCAP, and we're getting some things are different in that environment, from going from running projects to bringing participants in an ongoing way through the app, or even sponsored studies like Future of Travel. But then some things are 100% the same, no matter where we've done it, whether it's been, you know, a classroom in a community college in Northern Virginia, Whitney, remember those days, where we're trying to print out signs to make sure people know how to find the Seek session, or doing things in super interesting creative spaces in DC, you know, in you know, historical grounds and gardens and everything in between, you know, virtually all over the country. One thing that I think has been true in all of those is people have a lot to say about their own lives. And when you give them the opportunity to do that, they tell you. And they don't tell you in the way they do when you ask them 50 questions. When they get a chance to open up and just say, this is what happened, this is how it made me feel, this is what I learned, this is what I remember smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, it opens them up on another level. And they often tell us like the experience was cathartic just to be included and to be heard, like Claire was saying. Um, you know, Kevin, you're a person who travels also quite a bit, and you beautifully document so much of what you see and experience, you know, visually and in words. And so when you're thinking about your trips, you know, what's an example of something that makes the experience for you richer or more aligned or feeling more connected for you?
I think for me, it kind of comes down to like my intention and my like being deliberate about trying to record while I'm there, whilst also being present, like being mindful that I don't want to be just recording all the time. Like I don't want to be writing all the time because then I'm not experiencing wherever I've the destination that I've chosen. But at the same time, like knowing that like memory is fickle and fragile, and I want to be able to recall some of these moments later. And so trying to strike that balance of being present enough to notice the little things, whether it's the accents or the like the nuances that make a place unique, whilst also holding space to capture some of those memories while they're fresh. And yeah, I guess that's what comes up for me.
I love that. The intention and the balance of both making the memory and capturing the memory so you can recollect it. I love that. Well, I appreciate all of you for these voices and perspectives right here and what you're sharing about our work in travel, as much as we do it in a variety of industries. As we all know, travel has been a big piece of our work, and I think that's because the travel experience is so rich, it's so emotional, and there's so much that we can learn from it, both as travelers, visitors, residents, and also I think as communities and a little bit of society. Because when people are all around this country and this world are traveling on some level or another. Before we wrap up, this is a melancholy one for me. Speaking of that, the and emotions, I am happy and sad that our man Kevin Levin this is his last episode as the inside part of the Share More Stories team. Although it doesn't have to be your last as a guest star, Kevin. You can come back to the Terra Firma live stage anytime you want. But Kevin is moving on to the next thing for him, and we are just extremely grateful of the past year and a half of your time with us at Share More Stories, your help in bringing Terra Firma and Terra Firma Live to life and to light with all of your thoughts and your words and your ideas. You're a really, really wonderful, beautiful thinker, and I love what you do, and I love what you've brought as an energy to our team. And we are going to miss you deeply, but obviously we won't be very far from each other, either physically or digitally. So we'll keep tabs on you. And we might ping you every now and then when we need some of that special Kevin perspective. But we just want to say thank you and how much we appreciate you.
Thank you, all of you. This has been such a rewarding and fun experience, and I won't be far. Know that much. I won't be far away.
You'll just be making an impact in a different way, and we're here for it. So that is our episode for today. Thank you all for watching. If you want to learn more about what we're doing at Share More Stories, how we're helping organizations really, really make a meaningful difference with their brand, with their organization, in the customer experience, in their employee experience, or in the community, I encourage you to visit sharemorestories.com and click on CCAP on the left side of that page. You can't miss it. Or just message us, DM us on any of the platforms you're watching this on. We'd love to hear from you and talk with you about how our unique approach to storytelling and AI-based insights can help you make much better experiences for the people that you serve. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday to this amazing team. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you soon.